Welcome to the Mobile Application Framework YouTube channel. My name is Frank Impius and I'm from the Oracle Application Development Tools Mobility Product Management team. In this episode, I talk about remote data access, just providing you an overview of what you can expect to have available in MAF. Before doing so, let's have a look at the data consideration that you have to do just before going mobile with your application. First of all, no mobile application project, or not many, will start from a green field. So there's always some existing data and business services that you have that you want to expose to the mobile client as an additional input channel. When you have this, then most likely the technologies you use for building this business service includes ADF business components or enterprise Java beans or even a SOA infrastructure. The benefit of sharing data or sharing business logic or reusing it is that you have consistency. So no matter what the input is, a browser, a SOA input or mobile, it's always the same validation that is processed on the data input and the same business logic that is processed, for instance, on an order. However, the data that I can send to a mobile client is not the same as the data I could send to a browser, and this has to do with connectivity. If we look at the tailoring of data, then what we need to take into account is the connectivity, which could be 3G, 4G or Wi-Fi for a mobile device. We have to take into account the form factor, the display, which is not the same as on the browser. So we have to be very careful in thinking of what is the amount of data we want to send to the client, and also what is the number of attributes in the data object that we really can expose and that we want to work with. And this will reduce the amount of loading that we send down to the client. Security is another aspect. Now, data access, security, data protection in general is a lot easier to manage on a browser because all that you have is a query to the server, returns a response, and as soon as you close the browser, the data is gone. Well, some of this might be cached, but not the major amount of it. Now, with a mobile client, just to ensure that people can work offline when they lose connectivity to the 3G, 4G or Wi-Fi band, then we actually provide them with offline storage of data, which means that when they disconnect from an application, still data might be there. Now, if the requirement is to have this offline support, and that includes MAF as well, you have to think about how to protect data, how to secure data. We will see in a later episode where we talk about security, how you can do this with a MAF. But first, it has to be part of your data consideration. Second is data synchronization. Now, if we talk offline support, then what happens with data once you store them locally and then you get back online? So there must be some sort of checking with the server side for data status and for data change status especially, so that you don't override new data on the server with old data on the client. Now, what are the options in MAF for you to access remote data? Well, services, well, that's the obviously choice here. We have SOAP services, which have an XML payload, and SOAP services are used quite broadly within the industry, be it in a SOA environment or an initial exposure of web modules to the service interface. We do have REST services, which recently regained popularity because of the lightweight load that they send to the client and the performance that is so much better than with SOAP, as SOAP comes with a lot of overhead, as we will explore later as well. And then there is another service which actually is not available in the first release of MAF, but will be probably in one of the following patch sets, which is ADF Business Components exposed as RESTful services, which is a different brand of RESTful services because the payload belongs to ADF Business Components. So we have a huge and rich support of ADF Business Components REST services in the future within MAF, which will allow everyone who started building with ADF Business Components, well, in the past it was called Java Business Objects, so the past is the 1998, you will be able to leverage your existing investment, your existing business services easily in REST on the mobile client. So let's have a look at the graphic representation of what I'm talking about and what the next episodes will be about. First of all, let's have a look at how do we access services. At the right hand side you see we do have SOAP service and the REST service. and the REST service split up with an XML representation or a JSON representation. Those of you familiar with REST, you know that REST could be so much more than just XML and JSON, but that's all covered in the next episodes. So for accessing the SOAP service, we do provide a data control called the SOAP data control that makes it easy for you to hook up to the SOAP service just by pointing it to the WSDL file. For the REST service, there are two options. One is to use a declarative approach, which is for REST services that use an XML payload, and then we do have a REST service data adapter that you can hook up to any kind of REST service that you want. In addition to that, you can have another type of data control just sitting up front, which is a Pojo data control. Now this Pojo data control would allow you, for instance, to filter data or even to cache data, and we will see use cases later on as well. And then this information from the data control is bound through the MAF binding layer to the user interface, where it shows and where the user can use that to update data. So this is the infrastructure that we're talking about within the next episodes when we discuss service access and remote data access, as well as local data access in MAF. This was a short introduction to the options that you have, so the different ways that you can load data. I didn't go into any detail because that is what the next episodes will do for you. So stay tuned and I'll see you with the next recording.